Hi everyone, I'm Sheryl Gottschall and I'm here today with a lovely group of people that we met just recently who are here visiting from Canada and representing, is it Skylight Films, making a documentary called Making Contact. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you enjoying your trip?
Love it here.
Yeah?
We love
We're
it
not
here.
going back.
You almost want to buy land
I know.
when you're here for
Right.
a couple of weeks.
So we've got on the end, you've got Mark McNabb, Kelly Ray Irwin and Rob Freeman. So part of the Skylight Films, what's tell me all about Skylight Films. Is it your baby, Mark, or is it?
it's a company I started up about 25 years ago, and that's a nutshell right there for that.
Yeah.
Producing all different kinds of projects over the last 10, 20 years. Primarily family adventures. That's when Kelly and I got together and started producing, and from there that's when we got to meet Rob, because we produced a couple of different films with Rob. So.
Oh, okay.
You're still on an adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
This
sounds
was a big
like
one.
it from what I've heard. So because you've been all around the place. I was looking on your Facebook page this morning, Mark, in Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland, Costa Rica, Florida, Los Angeles, going around doing sky watching and filming people. Like, where else have you been?
Wow, let me think here. Yeah, it started off with
Pensacola,
yeah, we
LA.
Pensacola,
New
went to Las
Mexico,
Vegas,
Where-
Nevada.
Phoenix. Yeah.
Area 51 we kind
Area
of started
51.
with, just to get started.
Okay.
And then all the states around there.
That was about the most uninteresting place we visited.
Yeah, very touristy, Alien Inn and stuff.
Yes.
Taking nothing away from that, but
Yeah.
just it's kind of the tourist approach, I think, to this
Yeah.
field.
Yeah. So what's the purpose behind the documentary?
It's evolved a lot since we started. I mean, it was about 2 years ago, I think, that we actually sat down and Rob relayed childhood experiences that he had had. And Kelly and I got very interested in it. I mean, we've been all friends for 5 or 6 years now. So it was the opportunity to just look at that, those two experiences, do a little bit of research, talking it up a little bit more, and then it was, let's go on an adventure. So it literally was that when it started. It's like, let's just go out and see what we can see who we can talk to, get experiences and things like that. Then your world changes. You start seeing things that you didn't expect, and you're having experiences that are pretty mind-blowing.
It just becomes part of your life, and you can't go back. You don't want to go back.
It's too interesting and fascinating.
It is
Fascinating.
interesting. Yeah, that's for sure. So you've had some experiences in childhood. Have you two had some experiences as well? No? But you've all...
Not that we know of.
Okay.
They were living through mine to start,
Yes.
but now we're having them together with
Yeah.
different people like
Yeah.
yourselves and so on.
Yeah. So do you want to share some of your experience?
Well, as a kid, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and luckily, the first one I had was written in the newspaper the next day.
Mm.
So unlike a lot of people who see something and they don't want to tell everybody because maybe nobody else saw it and they don't want to be labeled crazy. I was labeled crazy at first by my mother until the next day when she saw the paper and saw what I had seen all written up in the paper. But I was just at Scouts, and my mom had said, call me when you're just about finished and I'll come and pick you up from the church. And she said, go out the back door and I'll pick you up outside. And when I went outside, there were these kids playing in the street. This is right in Sarnia, Ontario, the bottom of Lake Huron, right across the border from the U.S., on the St. Clair River. And these kids said, hey, mister, and I must have looked like a mister at 12 years old with my scout hat and tie and shiny shoes, right? But they said, there's a helicopter up in the sky. And I looked up, no noise. There was no blade going around. It was like a round thing, kind of your classic disc or saucer shape. And as I was watching this, it was up at about 800 feet, and it was moving slowly from north to south, and literally above me. And I'm waiting for my mom to get there and getting a little nervous. And every time it came down, every time it changed directions, it would come down lower. I really felt like they were watching it. And the strange thing was that when it changed directions, it changed instantly. Like in the blink of an eye, it was now going the other direction. And that was the little clue, well, I guess it's a big one, that told me that these guys are not from here. And then as it got lower, and now the kids were gone, and I'm the only one in the street, and I could kind of feel the hair going up in my arms. It's like, Mom, please get here soon, right? And as it got lower, that's when it really started to spook me out, because I could see like a little lens or a light in the bottom, and I could see figures moving. And I thought, oh my God, why me? I know I've always been fascinated in UFOs, but I didn't really want to have a UFO experience. So I was thinking, maybe something not so good was going to happen. It's just my own imagination, of course, fear of the unknown. And then just then my mom arrived. And I said, Mom, you got to get out of the car and see this thing up in the sky. And she says, no, we got to go home. You got to get your homework done. So finally I talked her into getting out of the car. It took me about 15 or 20 seconds. We looked up, gone. Now, I've got egg on my face. And she says, oh, it must have been a plane or a helicopter or a satellite or a meteorite or God knows what. So I go home and I tell my dad and my brother, and they just kind of laugh and, just go do your homework, right? And so I felt really unvalidated. And the next day I go to school and I come back home, and my mom's all excited when I arrive home. She opens a newspaper and it's on 2 pages. And I had, yes, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference I've had. Is
they actually chased it with 2 fighter jets from Michigan across the state, and it zipped off too quick for them to. That's what the paper was telling.
And it was
about.
Also a part of a 2-week flap of sightings that had been happening
In Michigan.
in the Michigan area.
Kind of
They labeled it as swamp gas.
You remember at the time that was all in Michigan, and we're just right across the river from Michigan.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is a couple years ago I went back with my son to find the newspaper. It was in the library on microfilm. And the interesting thing is where all the juicy details are on the second page. Well, the second page is missing. On the microfilm it goes page 1, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Page 2 is missing. And that's where it talked about what Kelly says, where in the Selfridge Air Force Base in the States across the river, they had talked about sending 2 jet fighters that could chase it, and it took off. So it's not on the record. But my mom had read that to me. So I remember all of that. And I've checked other archives around Canada that hold newspapers and stuff, and everybody's copy does not have page 2. So there you go, more conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah.
Who knows, coincidental or on purpose? Don't know.
It was enough to spark our interest, though.
Yeah, it was. And then my friend at school, who actually lives right across the street from us, I told him the story, and he says, oh, cool, I'd love to see UFOs. How can we see them? And I said, I don't know, let's just go on the roof. Maybe we'll see some. So we climb up on the roof with our blankets, pillows, all the equipment, just like today. All the stuff I have. And, binoculars, camera, walkie-talkies, notebook, paper and pen, everything, whistles, you name it. And we're up there for about half an hour watching the sky, nothing. And, as young kids, I was 12 years old, we got kind of bored, and I said, you know what, we're not going to see anything. We're getting cold, let's go down, let's pack up our stuff. Just as I grabbed the blanket, I happened to look up in the sky from the north, and it was the north horizon, and literally hundreds of things went from the north horizon right across the sky in like a second, at thousands of miles an hour, to the south horizon. They had to be up in the heavens, and it was so fast, and we're like, did you see that? Like, we couldn't talk. It just kind of grabbed us because this was pretty unusual. And so we finally got our voices back, and we're talking, and it's like, holy cow, what was that? And I don't know. And 30 seconds later, all of these craft, or whatever they were, came back again from the south in the same way, shooting right across the sky, hundreds. So we were all excited. We climbed down the antenna and went across the road to where my dad was, and Mom and Dad were having coffee with his parents. We're all excited to tell them the story. They didn't want to hear about it. And it's like, oh man. So we just went back to my place, and I think we turned Star Trek on, or whatever shows were playing at the time in 1966. So, and then the rest of the story is,
and that was
as
it
Mark
for
says,
50 years.
But that
Until
kind
he
of
talked to us about the newspaper article.
but it was the second story that kind of fascinated us the most, because it seemed more like
he initiated
it was intent. The intent was
intent to see.
Intent to see, and it's like they went up there for that reason, and they were excited, and they had that kind of
open
excitement,
mind,
openness.
interested.
And we went and we talked to more people, and we realized that it might be an intent driven, like something from
And suddenly you see that online, because how else do you find out?
That's what got me, because Mark said, that second sighting you had, you might have drawn them in. It's very possible. There's many people around the world that believe that. And I said, really?
We didn't know
And
anything.
here we are today.
And that was, that was the start of our journey.
So is that like a part of your protocol when you go and do sky watching now, that you have that intent to actually see something?
Yes,
Absolutely.
and there's many sort of different flavors we've seen around the world of the way people do things to try to draw them in, but
it
there's
does
a
seem
common
to be
there's a
intent.
common pattern that we've seen of intent, passion,
Playfulness
playfulness, creativity,
And love.
and love.
love,
Yeah.
expectation, and it's not a guarantee, but it seems that if you have those things, it increases the chances.
And the more people there seems to be it's like a source of energy, you know?
Yeah.
And we see that a lot too. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, but if you're having, if you're connected with other people that are really connected with that consciousness, it just, exponentially increases.
And we always find after a trip that in the next few days we spot things.
Yeah.
And then it kind of wanes a little bit. It's kind of like the energy
You
we
charged
pick
up.
up from the group we're with stays with us. And then we see all kinds of things for a while. And it's another interesting coincidence, or is it a coincidence? We were at the Canadian National Disclosure event in Brantford,
Yeah.
Ontario.
In Brantford, yeah.
Recently. This is maybe, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Paul Hellyer.
And Paul Hellyer, who is our former Minister of Defense and Deputy Prime Minister, who's quite with the whole movement. And we were going out on our break for lunch. And Kelly had said, let's bring our cameras when we went to the event, just for fun. Right? She said that just for fun. So at lunchtime, we thought we'll just leave the conference and go around the corner to McDonald's for something to eat. As we were walking out the door, I said, with all this energy at the conference, wouldn't it be funny if we looked up and saw something? And I scarcely got the words out of my mouth, and boom, we saw something.
Within seconds.
We set up our tripods, and all together we got 5 things over the next hour and a half.
Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple hours.
So what convinces you when you see something or what sort of criteria do you use that something that you're seeing is actually
Shoot
a
everything.
UFO?
Shoot everything, and then
Yeah.
you can study it later.
Yeah.
You don't really know.
You
Sometimes
don't know.
something that looks like nothing can have orbs going by it that you never saw in the film. Sometimes things look so amazing, and you're, oh no, look, that balloons, look, they were just clustered together, or you don't really know until you study it. Sometimes you get a feeling, and that's really
Yeah.
the only
The
tell.
coincidence
Like,
factor really plays with
Yeah,
your
there's a
mind.
coincidence factor, the
Yeah.
extreme coincidence factor. So many times, for example, in Brantford there, Mark and Kelly decided they wanted to we were set up right at the end of the parking lot of McDonald's under a tree on the grass. And it was a hot day, and I think you guys were just going to go for an ice cream, for a little treat. And I think I said, well, you know what happens if you leave? And sure enough,
He got
2
exciting.
minutes later, I got something.
Yeah.
And I text, and it's like, yeah, we knew that would happen. It happens
That's why we went for ice cream.
so often.
Yeah.
But
And I went back the next week to the same place just for fun. Didn't see anything. I had everything almost packed up. And I just took one last look at the sky. Spotted something. It's like so often.
A lot of the times we think they're laughing at him because they wait till all his
Yeah,
gears
it
put
happens
away,
so
and
often.
then it happens.
yeah.
They
It's
have a
like-
sense of humor.
So it's like I
Yeah.
say, I'm going to put my stuff away now. But usually I have to do it, and then I got to grab everything out again.
Yeah.
But it happens a lot. They seem to, whatever these things are, seem to have a sense of humor. And they're playing with you. They're letting you know that they know that you're watching them.
I've heard people say that quite often. And you've interviewed Damien not recently, and Damien would say exactly the same
Incredible. Incredible
Well,
experience.
actually, they were laughing at us because he's never used thermal vision before, and so he was very excited about Rob's system.
Very.
At the conference.
He put himself behind it, and right away he says, "Oh, there's something there." And so immediately we start recording it, and we're laughing, and it was a disc with a bump on it. Rob saw it as well, so did Damien. We had recordings on everything.
Visual,
I
visual
had
camera.
visual,
There
you
were
had
witnesses,
visual on
there were
it.
people
It
there.
wasn't in visual, like it wasn't in, it wasn't visible except for in thermal, and Damien said it switched from white to black, which means it switched from cold to hot, or hot to cold, depending on the settings you had it on.
The camera, yeah.
And then their joke is later we get it on the laptop and we have full audio, full recording, and no picture. It's all static. So we're not
Static.
supposed
It's
to
like,
have that one.
you can see
Yes.
it, but we're not going to let
We're
you
not gonna
You
let
record
can
it.
almost hear them laughing at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was like
I can
that.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all the places that you've been to, what would you say has been most where you've seen something that's the most interesting thing that
Australia.
Australia.
That was
Yeah.
amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a full craft we saw.
Yeah,
we
we've
just
never had
couldn't
that
see it.
experience.
This is at the Paradigm Shift
Yeah.
last
Yes.
weekend.
We were
Yes.
literally on the
Balcony
patio.
there, just
Probably
around the corner
from
where
all-
you guys were
Yes.
sitting.
And we're thinking it's from all the energy that was
Yeah.
there. That's why we wanted to bring our gear.
And we had the opportunity to talk to Damien the day before, and it was amazing. I mean, he's an amazing guy.
He's a sweetheart.
He's just a, and he has such a good soul, and you just come away from that very, very enriched by his knowledge and all of his experiences. So when he takes you out onto the patio, you're doing this, right? Because you're feeling it, and he's looking around too. And then he was, like Kelly mentioned, so excited about everything. Was having such a good time. He wasn't even 2 seconds behind that.
I had looked, and I got everything set up. There was nothing in the screen.
Yeah.
I said, okay,
And
do
he
you want
looks.
to take a look?
Oh,
Boom.
He looks, and not
Just like
even
that.
2 seconds later, I think I see something.
They were laughing at us.
And I look at the camera and focus it in, and it was disc or saucer shaped
Yeah.
with like a little dome on top. It's like,
Mm.
oh man. But we didn't get it recorded in the video. We got the soundtrack.
We recorded
That's
it. We just
correct.
didn't get to keep it.
Just
Yeah.
to hit
You
the
recorded it in here.
So, Mark, is your focus with the documentary, is that around sky watching, or is it the UFO phenomenon in
It's-
general? Or?
It's honestly even like the title, the title that we've been working with for the doc is Making Contact, Be Inspired, because that really is probably the biggest component. It's the human dynamic that's involved with this.
We can't really categorize it.
Yeah,
It's just-
it's people. Right now it's like a mosaic of different cultures and different societies and places that we've been,
Countries.
and we've been to probably 10 or 15 different cities across 4 or 5 or 6 different countries so far, but the theme is the same. There is a theme there. I mean, as a filmmaker, you look at that and you go, they're talking about love and fear and consciousness and people coming together and not being afraid of what's in the sky. That's what we're seeing. I'm the emotional one. Everybody knows that.
I'm the debunker.
Yeah, and Kelly loves to play. She loves to play and see, but that's kind of what works for the three of us.
Yes.
Like
You know.
what happened in Wales when you were,
Oh.
just tell the story about what you were doing on the beach.
Yeah, like in Wales, it was a pretty incredible. We had 3 or 4 days, and we had met some great people and people that we'd been in contact with for about 6 months to a year. But the day, I'll never forget Wales Day, because we actually decided to do it as a drive. Rather than flying in from place to place, we drove from Scotland down to the Bristol area, and then from Bristol to Wales, and then eventually to Ireland. But we did it all as a car ride, as a journey, because that's kind of the format of everything we're doing. But we were to go to Stonehenge that day. That was the plan. And everything was planned, right?
That day came and we just didn't feel like
we just
going to
didn't feel it.
Stonehenge.
And it was raining. It had been raining throughout the day.
We knew we should just go to Wales
It
instead.
just felt right. All 3 of us were like, and we hadn't even had the chance, the 3 of us, to connect, real, because it was such a busy trip. It was like 8 days and it was 4 countries. Like, it was a crazy schedule. But then we decided, we drove and we started going into Wales. And when we got to Wales, it was gorgeous.
It was the coast.
It was right on the coast of the Irish Sea, and it was amazing.
Instantly we were just happy and we knew we were,
Yeah.
okay, this
Mountains
is where we
coming down
should
to the
be.
sea.
Yeah,
and,
beautiful. Sun was out. It was like 8 o'clock by the time, 8 o'clock that night. And then there was a choice to be made. It was like, do we go and eat? Or do we take this feeling and just channel it and go down to the water? And so Rob said right away, I think we need to do this. We need to just set up and then, so of course what happened was a series of things happened. We're so happy, joking around, having a really good time after a really long driving day. Kelly's making heart shapes out of rocks, and we're
On the
it's
beach.
very playful and very happy. Within 15 minutes, within 15 minutes, Rob has
Rob
the thermal.
says, oh, I got something,
have
I got
something
something.
here. And it's going right across the cloud line.
Only on thermal.
Only on thermal.
So I
Kelly,
lined
yeah.
myself up. So I could
Yeah.
see exactly where he's shooting in the sky,
Total
and I
outline.
recorded visible with my camera, and there's nothing
Nothing.
there. And he, at the same time, he's recording this night vision or
Thermal.
thermal vision, and he got quite a capture, and it wasn't there in visible, so it was a really cool capture for
And it's
us.
strange too because it was set up for black being hot You can change it, the polarity, what you want. It was set up for black was hot. It was an aircraft. The top should have been black and the the bottom white for colder. The sun shining on the top. It was the opposite. The bottom part was black and the top was white,
So
indicating it was heat on the bottom of this, whatever it was.
just on that point, actually, I saw your setup down at the Gold Coast at the conference last weekend, and that's quite a lot of cameras you've got there.
It's a lot of
So,
weight.
yeah.
It's a lot of
So,
weight.
can you want to tell us a bit about that equipment for fellow sky watchers who might like
Sure.
to, you know?
Sure, it's kind of evolved, and as we've used it, we've decided we need more instruments, more things. And right now there's 4 cameras. The one is a Sony A7S with a 600 millimeter Sigma telephoto with 2 times extender, so that effectively makes it 1200. And then plus you're shooting in 4K, so you can, at home, you can just take 1/4 of that screen and still be in 1K or full high definition. So it's almost equivalent of 4800 millimeters. It's pretty far reach. So that's the visible camera on the one side. The next camera is the thermoscope. It's Army. It's 1 grade below Army. It's the same ones they make for the Army. The only difference for the Army is they waterproof everything. It's the same camera. And it's full thermal, so it's infrared, what they call far infrared. And so it's actually working by heat. It has a germanium lens because glass will not pass heat. It has to be germanium. And then it puts together the image of what you see based on what heat is being thrown at you. So if you see somebody walking on the beach, places where their clothes are touching the body all appear in blotches of black, but you can see their full body, right? So it picks up the heat. Then the next camera over is your classic night vision, you know, the green, which is visible, enhanced, or magnified. I guess it's
Gen 3.
what do they call it? Gen 3, and it's a photomultiplier tube inside, so it just amplifies the ambient light of visible light plus near infrared. And so that makes everything look like day at night. And then the 4th camera it's actually just a security camera that's had the infrared filter taken out, the cutoff filter, and then a proper infrared filter put in. And then I've got it attached to the monitor and to a little recorder. And it's a security camera. It's a security camera you'd use at your house. And I've got it attached to a telescope, so it can also be zoomed right in, and it's the near infrared. And in that one, anything warm appears as white. So you'll see the trees are all white and the trunks are black because they're cold, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you know, when we get set up, I just take a very distant object, and the thermal is the kind of one that's really screwed down tight. So in the crosshairs, I find something, I just zoom in and find something way off in the distance, and then I line up the other 3 cameras, so everything's exactly synchronized. And then, there's another component too. It's our very expensive spotter.
Expensive spotter, yeah.
It's actually just a piece of PVC pipe.
So what do you do with that?
And so that's 2 reasons. If, for example, several times Kelly spotted something, and she'll show us in the sky where it is, we see it, and it's like with this massive 35
Everything's
pounds.
so lined
How do you
up.
find it?
Yeah.
Because it's so telescopic. How do you find it? So I've got a bigger pipe and a smaller pipe, and first of all I look to see where it is, and I roughly aim the whole setup there. Then I go look through the bigger pipe, get it inside that hole, and then I go down to the smaller pipe and get it in the middle of that one. Now I
It's
have it in
lined
the
up
center.
on all
Yeah.
of his
Yeah.
gear.
Yeah.
So apart from the pipe, the rest of it sounds like it's really expensive equipment.
He called it, as a joke, he called it a WMD, a weapon of mass detection.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So have you got a favourite camera? Like, was one that you actually have more captures on than
Well, the
others?
thermal one is interesting because we're seeing a lot of stuff that doesn't show up in the visible camera.
What do you think that means?
Don't know. It's on another bit of another dimension or something. You know, that people have suggested cloaking. I know there's a factor that, you know, with the blue sky scattering effect, invisible light, sometimes you can't see things visibly, even though they're there, like planes that are far off. But usually during the day, if you can see it on the thermal, you can see it invisible. Okay? So it just means it's something that's throwing off heat. You know?
Daytime captures are always really interesting. That's kind of the first 6 months of what we did. We used a system that had a 2,000 millimeter kind of like basically an 83 times optical.
P900?
Nikon P900.
P900. I love my P900. I
Yeah.
won't use a single
still
other
uses
thing. He's
it
got all
today.
this fancy tech. I want just my
Yeah.
camera, my
Yeah.
P900.
Because it's
I
a real
love that.
quick deal where if you see something, and we did get something back in April, it was in our first couple of months, and kind of dips into the cryptozoology side of this,
Yeah,
where
it was. You can. You
don't
don't know
know.
what it is, but it's alive. You can
it
tell.
looks like a jellyfish.
Yeah,
It
we
looks like
call
it
it
has
a
a head on it,
jellyfish.
a neck and everything.
Yes.
And it swoops, and just how it moves, you know it's alive. A feeling you get, you know it's alive.
And we've
That
read a
was on the
lot,
P900.
yeah, and that was on the P900.
I love that
and we've read a
P900.
lot about how it looks biological. It's a very different thing. You don't speculate. I mean, you never speculate.
We don't
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
it
But
is.
We
you
don't
look
know
at
what it
it, and
is.
you don't.
Yeah.
You know you don't know.
You know,
Well,
you
and-
don't- the only
Part.
thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything.
And you don't
Well-
even attach a label to it. You
Yes.
just say,
Yeah.
well, we just keep
This
going.
is what it
Yes.
is.
Well,
Keep going.
And here's
keep
the other
going.
thing too is
Yeah.
that I'm a hot air balloon pilot as a hobby, so I know the wind currents intimately up in the sky and what they're like. Most people are not in a position
Yeah.
to know that, right?
Yeah.
And this thing, we'll say it was this long, and at a little joint here, sort of, the bottom was sweeping back and forth.
Like a
The
neck.
top was still.
Yeah.
Okay, now when you're up at 10,000 feet, the air is uniform. Not one part of this thing is still and the other part moving. Like say it was a weather balloon or something, impossible. When we're flying in the hot air balloon at 10,000 feet, you can be moving along at 60 miles an hour and light a cigarette and light a match and not have it go out. You feel no wind at all. Everything is still, even though it's moving at 60 miles an hour. It's hard to believe. There's no friction up there.
Had to have been
So
biological.
all of the air is just moving like this, and when you're in that air, you feel perfectly still.
And we recorded it for over 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're watching its movement for 7 minutes
So to have the bottom swinging back and forth,
and nothing else.
it's not a weather balloon.
It's not a weather balloon. No.
It's
Yeah.
almost like people say there's plankton in the atmosphere,
Yes.
and it's almost like it's
It's,
trying to gather plankton.
Mm.
We don't know.
Yeah, there could be any sort of life forms in our atmosphere at
Mhm.
various levels, different life
Yes.
forms existing too.
Mm.
you
I mean,
How
look
can
at all
there
the
not be?
NASA.
Or look at Hans's saying,
Yeah.
you stick your head in the ocean and you don't see any fish. Does that mean there's no life in the ocean?
Exactly.
Exactly.
You take the ocean and how small
Yeah.
relatively it is, and you look up. How
And
is there nothing up there?
And a lot of people akin the sky to like an ocean. It's like we're actually below an ocean. Where
At the
this could
bottom of
actually
it.
be. We're the bottom.
Yeah.
So.
And how many
Yeah.
tapes are there that NASA has where you see things moving around?
Yes.
How can there
That they
not be?
Yes.
Try to hush, right?
Yeah, it's a bit narrow-minded to think. that
Exactly.
we're
Very
just
much
us,
so.
isn't it?
Exactly.
Very
Yeah,
much
yeah.
so.
But back to your sky watching, do you follow? I know that the Stephen Greer protocols for CE5 work and all that are very popular at the moment and growing more and more. Do you use any of that? When you
Sometimes,
sky watch?
sometimes
It's
we
like a
do,
blending.
sometimes we don't. Some groups we do, some groups are no part of it. But I mean,
Do you get responses from
I
using
think,
that?
yeah, I think
Sometimes,
it's
yeah.
just being very relaxed.
Mm.
So whatever works for you,
Yeah.
mhm.
And I mean, a lot of people will do some kind of a meditation,
Mm.
and whatever their meditation is, it's just something that allows you to be totally relaxed and almost hook into another level.
Mm.
whatever
Seems to be
really
the
gets
common
you
denominator.
into that.
Yeah.
And if it's a
state.
Stephen Greer CE5 protocol,
Yeah,
great.
whatever works for them.
Other groups
Yeah.
use their own.
Like even the
Some
groups,
not at all.
Even the groups here in Australia that we were privileged to be a part
Mhm.
of have a blending of those styles.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Some
different
Aboriginal
styles.
stuff?
Yes,
Yeah, like a
yes.
very
Yes.
because Australia obviously has a very
Ancient.
Mhm.
backstory,
Yep.
and we're finding it a very holistic earth, a lot of earth kind of mantras and things like that.
Yes.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Because you're blending that into what you've
Yes.
already learned, and you're like, okay. And we had some incredible experiences this week with that.
Yes.
So from what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like maybe you might think that our consciousness is connected
Very.
into this. Why do you think that's so, though?
What I've heard many times is that, as human beings, we all have this, but through our raising, through whatever,
Block
it's
it
been
out.
suppressed. It's
Yeah.
been blocked out. And through various different methods, you have to be able to get back to our roots that we all have. And there are a number of ways, as you know, through meditation and various spiritual things. And so it's something that everybody has. If you're a human being, you have it.
Yeah. Mm. That's it.
Yeah. It's almost
You just have
simple.
to access
So
it.
simple.
Yeah.
You just
It'd
have
be a
to
short
You
access
book.
it.
overthink it, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Very
just
short
have
book.
to access it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like if you give somebody an iPhone, right? And younger kids can pick up on it real easy. You give it to somebody who's not familiar, and it's going to take them a long time to learn it.
It's a real
But
education.
anybody can learn it,
Yeah.
and you know, people all have the ability.
Yeah. Kelly, how's this whole experience affected you? Being involved with these guys and going out with other groups and
It's amazing. I mean, completely not what life was before. Like we, completely not. I mean, we love doing our kids' movies and everything. It's great, but it's completely different life. But a way more beautiful one. Like the people we meet, the adventures we go on. Like this is what we're supposed to be doing with life.
Yeah.
I don't know really what got us on this path, but we're supposed to be on it. You can't pick this up and let it go.
And
You
the number of
can't stop
serendipitous
learning
events
this. You
that
can't
happen.
stop. Yeah, you can't. And I mean, there's a lot of people like you can't force this on anyone. Some people, you know, if they have their closed mind, you can't. And there's nothing you need to want to try and make them right. You're wasted energy. There's enough people out there that do want to learn, and that's why we want to do this project so that people that do feel alone out there, if they watch our video, then they can see all over the world, in all different countries, there's people that you can reach out to that are real, and you're not alone. But the media makes you feel alone. It makes you feel crazy, and you're not.
It's more fear-based than love-based.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So if you can let go of that, and you know of someone to reach out to, like there's people everywhere. More and more times we keep finding these people that, oh, I thought I was the only one. You know, you're.
Especially in Australia,
not.
it seems. This
And
kind of seems like to
So
be
you
the
suppress
epicenter.
it, and it's not a bad thing. There's so many people out there that you can reach out to. So if we can help people that way, then how can you not?
You want to
Why
leave
wouldn't
something.
you?
Want to leave something for the next generation of young people. You want that 5-year-old or
Yeah.
6 or 8 or 10-year-old to, when they're looking up in the sky and they're seeing something, they can say, you know, I don't have anything to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is something that I've read about or heard about or watched, or I've had friends that have talked about it, because it should be more accessible.
do you think though, just picking up on that point, do you think that there are some aspects that we should be a bit reserved about?
How so?
That's a
Well,
good
with
question.
the UFO phenomenon, I mean, are all extraterrestrials loving?
Can I
and
answer that
all
one?
We don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, we have good intentions ourselves. There may be people that don't. What I've heard is that if, depending on your character and your nature, you're going to attract a similar thing. So if you are more of a noble mind and really trying to accomplish something in a positive way here, everything you're going to be associated in this phenomena is going to be positive. I have heard that if you're the opposite type of person, you could have some negative experiences. I don't know if this is true. That might be more of your knowing. But we basically figure we don't want anything to do with anything that might be below the ground or
Yeah.
below us.
Yeah.
Darker.
We,
Down
we
there.
say kind of we'll say a little prayer. It's not even a little prayer. It's just that we feel that we are accessing something of a higher nature, higher beings, higher consciousness, and that's all we're interested
Positive and light.
in. We haven't had any experiences with negative stuff and hope never to have.
So what happens when you're out sky watching, Mark, and you see something actually come down?
And we all know I cry.
You
You know what I mean? I'm
you
like,
said
I
it.
was waiting for you to end the sentence
You
because
said it,
these
not
two
me.
are looking at me. The crier. Yeah, but it's emotional. It is. I mean, you know, you've lived your life. I mean, you have a certain set of experiences, and then you have the experiences that we've all experienced over the last 2 years. It just changes your mind. It changes your focus. You know what I mean? You know you have a purpose. You feel you have a purpose. So it would be amazing. Like, how could it be not the most incredible thing that you could ever experience?
So
You look forward to it.
a hatch or a door opens. and
Yeah.
an occupant
That would be
comes out
amazing.
and-
That would be
Like,
amazing.
just
What
the
happens?
thought of it is incredible.
Well, we've always
Yeah.
said you can abduct us if you want, but you know, keep us safe, don't hurt us,
Yeah.
and you know, you can take us for 2
Teach
weeks,
us
3
what-
weeks, whatever,
Teach us what we should be passing on.
but
Yeah.
bring us back in the same time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody
Please.
goes out looking for us, wondering where we've
My
gone.
You
mom
didn't
would
like
be
the
so
60s?
mad.
You know?
Bring us back like 2 minutes later on Earth time,
Yeah.
right? But you can take us for whatever time you want,
Yeah.
if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And like Kelly was saying, help us. Help us help the world. Help us help you. If that's the case, and you want to give us a message that we can take the message further, fantastic.
So what are you hoping to do with your documentary? Where is it going?
It's so early. Like, we've had this discussion how many times, right? Where we go, okay, we think we don't have enough. No, we think we need more. And then you come to Australia. Okay, well, now we're coming back. We're coming back because there's so much there that you realize there's all these
We've
threads.
taken so many different angles
Yeah.
and so many different stories that, we could go in a million different directions. So, I think we're going to try to start editing this fall.
He's going to
but
lock
we don't
himself
really know.
down in October.
We don't really know.
Yeah,
'cause
6 months.
we're gonna keep traveling and we're gonna keep expanding. So it could change again.
You almost
3
feel you're
times.
being guided. Like, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, well, right now it's
We
like
don't have a lockdown
we just don't
perception
have a
on what we
lockdown
want
on
to
it.
end up with.
That was a question I was going to ask you, because sometimes these projects, especially in this field,
Sometimes
they take on a life of their
They-
own.
Sometimes
Exactly.
when
This one
people
is.
are doing documentaries, they have a certain agenda that they need to. They have
Exactly.
to,
You're right.
in order to fit a time slot on
Yeah.
TV, they have to meet here, here, here. We don't. We all have other jobs. This is whatever we want it to be, whatever
almost,
message
yeah.
we
The
want.
material
to
is
make it.
driving the agenda.
Yes,
Yeah, that's right,
exactly.
Rob. Yeah, that's
The
exactly it.
material is, yes.
It's very organic. It's
Not-
always changing. It's always changing. And you always go, and you're always thinking, oh, I bet you there's just one more thing. And then you do. You experience something, and you go, okay, that's got to be a part of it. And even though we're going to start putting it together, we know that we need to go
It
farther.
could change again.
And we'll probably be, I don't know, hopefully be told at a certain point, guided to a point where we'll know more and
We know what we
So
should be doing.
we'll
you've
know
got
what
the
we're supposed
goal
to do. Yeah.
to have the documentary made,
Yes.
but what I'm seeing is 3 people on their own personal quest as well. Would you say?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Very
exactly
much
what it
so,
is,
very
and
much
we're
so.
documenting our quest.
That,
Yes.
and that's,
we're
and
sharing
that's
it with
exactly, it's
everybody
really,
else.
really well put, because that was the shift. I think that happened about 6 months in. We went, okay, this is not just a point of view anymore.
Yeah.
This is subjective. This is, we are living it
Yeah.
day to day, week to week.
So we're just recording
So
everything
we're
we do,
recording everything.
documenting us as we go.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see your documentary sometime down the track.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, or if you want people to, like if someone in Australia says, hey, we're having this big UFO flap here or wave going on for months and months.
We'll be there.
How do they let you know about that? How do they contact you and let
Wow,
you know?
we are on Facebook, but we'll be doing a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
That's something we haven't really done a lot of, as far as the connection to other, to beyond
I
that.
didn't realize we would need that.
Setting
Yeah.
up-
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you might need it,
Yeah,
Skylight.
we're fine.
You
We're
can,
fine.
at least can search our names.
Yeah.
You'll find us.
Okay.
Definitely
Yeah.
will find us.
Yeah.
Definitely will find us.
Cool. All right. Good. Do you have plans to make other documentaries?
Well, okay, so we get this one done. It's not like we're going to stop. This is our life now. So
It will lead us
who
into
knows
another
what
one.
direction
Yeah.
we're going to go in.
We
but
feel it will.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of passion. Like, we have a lot of passion for it, and we realize that, the universe and its mysteries, it's pretty wide open. But it really attracts us all. Like, we're really passionate and committed to
we're
it.
pretty sure we're done with family kids movies,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Our whole phase.
This
It's a bit
is
hard
But
to
not
get
this
back.
is
adventure
life
movies.
now,
But not
yeah.
adventure movies.
No, this
one-
is
This
adventure.
is real life
Yeah.
adventure.
Real
That's
life.
what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's human potential, isn't
It
it?
is.
It's
It is.
human and extraterrestrial. It's like the biggest story on Earth.
Yes.
And
Really.
it really pulls you in.
Yeah.
These people
Spend our whole lives
Yeah.
trying to get it all. We're not going to, so we just
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
at it as we can.
Well, I wish you all good luck with it.
Thank you
I-
very much.
I'm sure you'll do really well. And thanks for being here and having the interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.